Welcome back to the class, everyone. As many of you probably already know, we have a new event coming to the game called the Ultimate Journey. In addition to this event coming to the game, we also have a brand new store where we will be able to use the currency we get from it. And as we all know and love, with every new store comes a new economy for us to figure out. So that really is going to be the whole point of today's video. We're going to talk briefly about the new event itself, but mostly I want to spend most of our time in this nice little spreadsheet here, as well as the in-game store, kind of showing and taking apart what overall is going to be best value. So as previously kind of shown here, we are going to be able to participate in this event once every month, at least per what Meathead said here. And we are going to be able to use our Galactic Legends, and they have to be at least Relic 7 along with whatever team that we want them to go with, but the team does not need to be Relic 7 itself. You can refresh the event. We will talk about in the value that's going to go into that. But lastly, the last value we need to take in is the fact that each attempt is going to reward 300 currency. And if you probably can't notice from the screenshot, but these can be done in conjunction with one another. Just because you do Jabba's doesn't mean that Lord Vader's and JMK's disappear. For every Galactic Legend, you have more opportunity to get more currency. So with all of that kind of said and done, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the store in game, just so we can get a rough idea of what we're working with. There are 6 items in total, and a lot of them do have a tendency to be needed in a variety of ways, but I think we can really nail this down to what we need the most. So we have Chirotechs, we have micro attenuators, we have signal data, we have Omicrons, and then we have the conquest / proving ground characters here as well. And what I want to do is take apart not just what we need, but how value really impacts us. What I mean by that is I don't want to just come into the store and be like, oh, today I need Chirotechs because I'm about to get Leia, so I'm going to buy Chirotechs. No, I want to know in general what is best value. Should I be getting Chirotechs here? Should I be getting them solely through Grand Arena store and get 2, and then I can leave this to something else? Are Omicrons good? And that's the whole of what we're trying to take apart here. So let's go ahead and pull up our handy dandy spreadsheet here. So the first thing that we need to recognize, or actually the first 3 things we need to recognize, is not all of these items can be bought with crystals. So what we're going to try to do first is we're going to make a crystal analysis between the prices in the store, the currency in the store, and then the crystal price you would get outside of it, and see which has overall better value. The second thing that we are going to do is we are going to compare most of these items to their get 3 value. The reason why we're doing this is because you can probably see here, not all the items in the store, specifically the micro attenuators and the Omicrons, have a direct crystal value. While there are kind of ways through packs to compare them, I want something more consistent than that, because packs, they can kind of stop at any time, and they're quite frankly not even available in game right now. And then after we get done with all that analysis, we are going to talk about refreshes to see whether or not they're worth it, and if they're, when they are. So let's just go ahead and get started off with the overall crystal price here and seeing what we have in front of us. So this is pretty clear, the color scheme here. Green means good value, orange or yellow means kind of good, orange means neutral, red is bad. So looking at the first 4 items, we can pretty clearly see that the Gear 12 pieces are the winners, Chirotechs are the losers, followed by signal data, and then proving ground shards find them somewhere in the middle. And what I want to do with this, in addition to just looking at the crystal value, we need to understand the scarcity of these resources to really find out what their value is. So I can look at this at face value and be like, oh, the Gear 12 pieces are good, so I should just buy those. I would heavily argue against that, not just for myself, but for anyone else out there playing, because the Gear 12 pieces are so easily obtained in massive quantities from the refreshed guild store, where you can buy with Mark II currency. And Mark II currency right now, there's really no shortage of it either. Well, I know there's a lot of stuff going around with the new raids right now, but Mark II is not one of them that is going to be really changed. It is available in the Heroic Sith raid. It's going to continue to be available in the Crate raid. It's going to be available in the Endor raid. And you, like I said, you can get a lot of these items with very little of this currency that most everyone has access to. And while there's an argument that you could always use more, you're going to eventually get bottlenecked by something else when you're leveling up these characters. So while the price there, or the deal there, is very good, I'm going to heavily argue against it, specifically because of this. Because even when we compare the Gear 12 prices in here, the cheap pieces in this store are the same ones that are in the other store down below for Legends tokens. So if we want to take advantage of real value on that store, we buy them there. We do not buy them here. We go elsewhere and to look to see what else we have. So going back to the spreadsheet, I really don't think that this is a high priority. The scarcity is just too low on it. Kyrotech, the value overall is quite frankly pretty bad. And Kyrotech, while it is needed in a much higher volume than the Gear 12 pieces, there are just so many other places to get it. We've talked about this before. It's available with Get 2, it's available with Get 3, it's available on nodes, it's available with the GAC currency. And with it having such a bad value here, I think it's going to ultimately end up being a loser in that category as well. Signal data seems to be okay. And probably wouldn't advise this. There are going to be some scenarios where there's some people out there like, I only care about 2W. I don't touch GAC Omicron, so that's not even a thing. I have all the Proving Grounds characters. So for that guy, I guess that's a thing. But and just very similar to the Kyrotech, while it is needed in very high volumes, there are just multiple places to get it, or really one really good source that can rack it up very well, being Cantina Energy. So overall, the analysis here, in my opinion, is that Proving Ground shards, if you do not have them, are of the utmost importance. Not just because characters are good, a Gear 12 cat is better than not having cat at all, but because the actual value does stand behind it. And the only other place to get these characters right now, other than with crystals, is from the Proving Grounds event, which quite frankly is not well designed. The way that it currently stands is if you don't want to put any crystals into it at all, it takes something like 17 plus months to be able to unlock a character, which is ridiculous. Almost no character in the entire game requires that amount of long-standing time to be able to get them. So Proving Ground characters from a crystal point of view, by far the winner in my opinion. Now let's go ahead and take this filter off and start looking a little bit at the Get 3 comparison, because this is going to allow us to take into account both micro attenuators as well as Omicrons. So micro attenuators are just kind of a fat loser. If we look at their relative value with Get 3, it is not good. Like, you get way more micro attenuators from Get 3, and you can even get to the point where if they're the only thing you're buying with that currency, you can buy them every single time and you can really help yourself. And I realize it's mods and you can always kind of use more mods. I just wouldn't advise it. It's not good value. You should be going elsewhere to be able to get that. As much as I love them, I buy them every single time. I wouldn't buy them with this currency. Kyrotech, we've already kind of talked about. The value is somewhere in the middle, but the scarcity just is not high enough to warrant them. And then when we look at Proving Ground shards again, they're still kind of a winner. Their scarcity does remain high, but even with the relative value of Get 3, they're on the winning side of things. So again, I think this is probably going to be priority number one above all else. If you don't have the character, really whoever it is, whether it's Commander, Ahsoka, Maul, Malgus, Malicos eventually one day, all these characters hold a lot of value. I guess maybe if you don't have Rey and don't ever want to get Rey, Ben Solo might not be the best value, but overall, those are going to be what you want to go after. Now, it is interesting to know that the Omicron value from a Get 3 perspective is just completely destroyed. And that's quite frankly just because the Omicron economy right now sucks. It's so hard to get them, and the amount of avenues you can get them are so restricted that this is just what it ends up with. Not because I think the value in the Legend store that we're going to be getting is good, but because everywhere else is so bad. Through Cantina, you're probably lucky to get 1 or 2 a month. Maybe for a really good month, you get more than that, but for the most part, that's about average right now. The Galactic or Grand... the challenges that we have several times a week, those are really the best place to get them, but they're limited. You can't increase that. You can't refresh those. So this is kind of just what we end up being stuck with. So this is going to be the best overall value after the Proving Grounds shards. When we look at all 6 of these comparatively, that is just kind of where we end up with Omicrons taking the lead, at least in my opinion. Trying to remove my filter here. There it is. Oh, nope, it's not there. Oh, there it is. So when I look at all 6, I really do think Omicrons win just because their scarcity is so high, and the one other value that we can compare them to just completely skyrockets. Proving Grounds, obviously get the characters you want / need, and then after that probably transfer over to Omicrons. And then I guess if you absolutely have it set in your mind, you do not need either of the 2 of them, then Signal Data is probably the 3rd best bet overall. So that really covers what we want to buy and how we want to buy it. Now, I do want to talk about refreshes. We know that the refreshes are going to cost about 250 crystals per refresh, and that's great to know because we can just start stacking up those 250 crystals to what 250 crystals could normally buy you. So what I've done here is I have taken the original values over here from the side from our straight crystal price and our straight legend price, and I have used them against their respective currency. So when we look at the cost of Kyrotex for crystals, and then we have it divided by the 250, which is what you would spend, this is how many Kyrotex you will get doing it the crystal way. If you want to refresh the legend event and get the 300 tokens that way and get it through the other value, it's actually worse. And it's worse like every single time. I don't know why you would do it with these two, so I didn't even check. But yeah, if you want Kyrotech, just buy it out of shipments. Do not refresh this event to get more Kyrotech. It's not good value. And the exact same thing goes for signal data as well as proving ground shards. And it's worth mentioning here that the proving ground shards, the best way to really get them outside of, or if you're looking to get them with crystals, is to just refresh the event itself. I know it's painful. I'm not saying you should do it, but that currently is the best way to do it. Now, the last thing that I will say is when we look at the Omicron materials, buying them with these crystal refreshes, it's about on par with the packs. There needs to be some transparency here, though. If it costs you 250 crystals to refresh the event, that event will give you 300 currency. So you have to do that twice to be able to get one Omicron, because these cost 600 currency. So if you have to do that twice, that's 500 crystals for one. And if you need 20 of these to be able to unlock the ability, which is what you need, that's how the game works, you need 10,000 crystals worth of this legend event, 10,000 crystals worth of refreshes to be able to apply one Omicron. And that sounds really stinking expensive. On the bright side, that is about on par with what packs have. There are $30 packs out there that will all for 10 Omicrons. You buy 2 of them, that's $60, and that pretty much gets you to the same place. If you were to go out and buy, let's say, one of those crystal chests, or not the chests, but the vaults, they give you about 15,000. You do the math, it works out to basically the same. The only real advantage here is if you are using free-to-play crystals that you get from your arena or grand arena or whatever it is, then you actually have the option to buy this, whereas the actual Omicron packs have to be bought with real dollars, which I guess wouldn't be considered free-to-play at all. So that is pretty much our overall analysis here. Proving ground shards to me are the highest winner just because their scarcity is so high and the value for them is legitimately there, so get those first. Omicrons are the next best. If you're dead set that you don't need more, then it's going to be signal data. The other 3 are just bad. I just don't. I know you need Kyrotech. Get it from one of the other 4 places. Do not get it from here. Micro attenuators, I know you love mods. Don't do it. Gear 12 stuff, hopefully you're just not tempted at all by that. Refreshes really should not be done on this event unless you are specifically trying to get Omicrons. And even then, you have to recognize it's decent value. It's not exactly amazing. That is going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, stay awesome.